The George Washington Birthplace National Monument is in Westmoreland County, Virginia, United States. Originally settled by John Washington, George Washington's great-grandfather, George Washington was born here on February 22, 1732. He lived here until age 3, returning later as a teenager. At the entrance to the grounds, now maintained and operated by the National Park Service, is a memorial shaft obelisk of Vermont marble, which is a 1/10 scale replica of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. The George Washington Birthplace National Monument, where Pope's Creek joins the Potomac River, is representative of 18th-century Virginia tobacco farms. A memorial house with 18th-century furnishings is open to visitors. The park's farm buildings, groves of trees, livestock, gardens, and crops of tobacco and wheat, represent the boyhood environment Washington knew. History. 17th–18th centuries. George Washington's great-grandfather settled this plantation in 1657 at the original site on Bridges Creek. The family acquired additional land located on nearby Pope's Creek where the first section of the house in which George Washington was born was built, before 1718 and enlarged by his father between 1722 to 1726. It was further enlarged by the mid-1770s to a 10-room house, known as Wakefield. This house, which George Washington in 1792 would describe as the ancient mansion seat, was destroyed by fire and flood on Christmas Day, 1779, and never rebuilt. 32 graves of Washington family members have been found at the Bridges Creek Cemetery plot, including George's half-brother, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Washington's father cultivated tobacco on his several plantations, which was labor-intensive, involving the work of enslaved Africans and African Americans. By the time George Washington was born, the population of the Virginia colony was 50% black, most of whom were enslaved. 20 or so slaves worked on the small tobacco farm at Pope's Creek during the time that Washington lived there. 19th century. Lane 1858, the Commonwealth of Virginia acquired the property to preserve the home site and cemetery, but the Civil War intervened. Virginia donated the land to the federal government in 1882. 20th century. The Wakefield National Memorial Association was formed in 1923 to restore the property. In 1930, the grounds were authorized as a U.S. national monument, and in 1931, the Wakefield Association received a grant from John D. Rockefeller, Jr. to acquire and transfer a total of 394 acres of land to the federal government. Since the exact appearance of the original Washington family home is not known, a memorial house was designed by Edward Don, Jr., representing similar buildings of the era and constructed on the approximate site in 1931. The actual location of Washington's boyhood home is adjacent to the memorial house, and its foundation is outlined in the ground by crushed oyster shells. Constructed as a memorial to George Washington in 1931, the memorial house is not an exact replica of his birthplace. Rather, it represents a typical upper-class house of the period. The memorial house is constructed of bricks handmade from local clay. It has a central hallway and 4 rooms on each floor, furnished in the 1730 to 1750 period style by the Wakefield National Memorial Association. A tea table is believed to have been in the original house. Most of the other furnishings are more than 200 years old. The park and memorial house were opened by the National Park Service in 1932, on the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The national monument today. In the 21st century, the monument is a part of the National Park Service's ongoing efforts to interpret historical resources. In addition to the memorial house, park facilities open to visitors include the historic Birthplace home area, kitchen house, hiking trails, and picnic grounds. In the kitchen house, costumed reenactors demonstrate candle and soap making, a colonial herb and flower garden, having plants common to Washington's time, such as thyme, sage, basil, and other herbs. Flowers such as hollyhocks, forget-me-nots, and roses, as well as trees and bushes that date to Washington's time, may be viewed. The colonial living farm, with a barn and pasture, raises livestock, poultry, and crops of the 18th century variety, using farming methods common then. Visitors may also tour the Washington family burial ground, which contain the graves of 32 members of the Washington family, including George Washington's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Replicas of 2 original gravestones, along with 5 memorial tablets placed here in the 1930s, may be viewed. The Visitors Center contains artifacts recovered from the burned-down Washington house, such as those pictured at right. A bowl, clay figurine, wine bottle seal belonging to Augustine Washington, wine bottle, and keyhole plate. A 15-minute film depicting Washington family life is shown in a theater at the Visitors Center. Directions. The George Washington Birthplace National Monument is 38 miles east of Fredericksburg, Virginia, located on Virginia State Route 204. The access road to the site from Virginia State Route 3, Stratford Hall Plantation, the birthplace of Robert E. Lee, and the town of Montrose are nearby.